I have moved from Madras Medical Mission to the Tuin Institute, and this is called MGM Healthcare, about a short distance from my house, and it's a tertiary care center. So from next week onwards, I'll be working there along with my colleagues, Dr. Millie Matthew and the transplant team. And so let me move on with the with my first slide. Okay, I have an illustrative case. A 33-year-old male non-diabetic on maintenance hemodialysis 3 times a week for the last 10 months. His anuric, his ideal dry weight, his interdialytic weight gain is 2.6 kilograms in between two dialysis. He is on erythrocyte stimulating agent 4,000 international units per week. His hemoglobin is 10.3 gram. His blood pressure is 177 by 180 and heart rate is 75. He is on clonidine 200 micrograms 3 times a day, metoprolol 50 and 25 milligram morning and evening, losartan 50 milligram once a day, minoxidil 5 milligram twice a day. His BP is 200 to 120 millimeters of mercury pre-dialysis. So it is very clear that he has significant hypertension. He is a young man, he is a non-diabetic. His BMI is 20.8 kilogram per meter square. Normal BMI for an Indian is 18.6 to 22.9. It is not 22.3. I'm sorry for the typographical error. He is on polyether sulfone dialyzer, 1.4 meter square. Diet, non-vegetarian, is a non-smoker. How to control his blood pressure to less than 140 millimeters, 140 by 90 millimeters of mercury. Is it possible by diet alone or drug, or is he non-compliant with his drugs? So these are the questions one should ask when you see a regular maintenance hemodialysis patient who has got significant hypertension. So sorry about this busy slide. It shows a pre-dialysis BCM and a post-dialysis BCM, and he has some malnutrition as shown by face angle of less. It should be 4.5 to 6.6. And when you look at the extracellular and total body water, pre-dialysis and post-dialysis, there is slight gain, but his weight gain is only 2.6 kilogram interdialytic weight gain. And you have seen the number of drugs this man is taking. So what is the reason for his high blood pressure? Is it interdialytic weight gain with increased salt intake, or is it some other factor which is responsible for the uncontrolled hypertension? So intradialytic hypertension occurs in 5 to 15% of the people. Mechanisms are extracellular volume overload, increased cardiac output, changes in sodium levels, activation of the RAS system, overactivity of the sympathetic nervous system, endothelial cell dysfunction, removal of antihypertensive drug during dialysis so that they develop hypertension during dialysis. And the most important treatment is adequate sodium and water removal and reducing the sympathetic nerve activity, changing to non-dialysable antihypertensive medication, altering the dialysis prescription. Now, prevalence of hypertension in chronic hemodialysis patients. This is a study published by Isaki in 653,000 patients. Mean age was 61 years. Mean duration of hemodialysis was 8 years. You can see the concentric left ventricular hypertrophy in a hypertensive patient. And when you look at the prevalence of hypertension, you can see that in duration of hemodialysis in months, in men and women, men is shown in squares and women in round circles. You can see that less than 12 months, and then it peaks, and then it slowly comes down over a period of many months. That is almost up to 360 months. Now, unadjusted survival by baseline pre-dialysis systolic blood pressure shown here. This is a survival curve. This is years after start of follow-up, and you can see that less than 110 to 170 plus. So as the systolic blood pressure increase, you can see these slides. There is a significant increase in mortality as shown by these slides. Look at this one. Look at the red one, that is 110 to 190. and then you look at the other ones. So you can see that there is a significant increase in mortality when the blood pressure is high or in maintenance hemodialysis patient. So what is resistant hypertension? Blood pressure remaining above goal in spite of concurrent use of 3 antihypertensive agents of different classes. The use of non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs is one of the causes for resistant hypertension. Renovascular hypertension, increasing cysts in a polycystic kidney disease, and compliance with medication. Resistant hypertension in end-stage renal disease patient. You can use transdermal clonidine at weekly intervals. Minoxidil, a potent vasodilator used with beta blockers. Spironolactone in hemodialysis patient, 25 to 50 milligram post-dialysis. But there is always a risk of hyperkalemia. Improve the BP control, extracellular fluid, and then large studies are done along with spironolactone. Renal sympathetic nerve ablation, we all know about that. Hyperactivation of the sympathetic nervous system by renal sympathetic nerve ablation. The future, device-based therapy for resistant hypertension, baroreflex activation therapy, or renal denervation therapy. Now, relationship between BP and mortality in dialysis patient. Relative death rate is shown in the vertical axis, and the pre-dialysis systolic blood pressure is shown in the horizontal axis. So you can see that the less mortality is when the blood pressure is above about 115 to 120 to not above 180. And so if the blood pressure is low, they have a higher mortality. If the systolic blood pressure is high, the patients have higher mortality. So when and how to measure the BP in dialysis patient? Dialysis unit, during, before, or after, home blood pressure, or ambulatory blood pressure monitoring. Now, sorry about this busy slide. This was recently published in American Journal of Kidney Disease in August 2020. Can we study hypertension in patients on dialysis? Yes, we can. So there are a number of studies shown here, and the design, open label control, randomized control, these are all randomized control studies. Patients number are shown there, 65, 150, 200, 126, and 50. Intervention, home BP pre-dialysis, and BP dry weight probing versus no intervention on dry weight. So what they found is that, over a follow-up of 2 months to 12 months, home BP measurement stands out best for dialysis patients. Home BP measurement is done 2 times or 2 days on a 7-day monthly basis, and 24 findings, 24 ambulatory blood pressure decreased from 144 to 135 millimeter in the home blood pressure group. So they suggest that, this particular editorial suggests that home blood pressure monitoring is the best when the patient is at home after dialysis or the day after that, and that will provide a baseline for blood pressure control in hemodialysis patients. So treating home versus pre-dialysis BP as it is shown in this. So you have the same article. You have number of BP readings transmitted to study team at study visit. They are overall across 16 weeks. They at 0%, 3%, at 0 time 3%, then 4% and 94%. And the weeks are shown 2 to 16 weeks. And you can see the dialysis systolic blood pressure treatment group and home systolic blood pressure treatment group. And this is the home systolic blood pressure treatment group. And this is the dialysis systolic blood pressure group. Mean pre-dialysis systolic blood pressure over 4 months among participants randomly assigned to systolic blood pressure versus dialysis systolic blood pressure group. For error bars represent standard deviation. This is the standard deviation. Now you look at the mean home pre-dialysis systolic blood pressure over 4 months among patients randomly assigned to home blood pressure treatment group. Number 25, you can see that this is the pre-dialysis blood pressure group, and this is home systolic blood pressure group. And you can see that it is about 140, whereas in the pre-dialysis group, it is 150 millimeters of mercury. Now, home blood pressure monitoring is of greater prognostic value than hemodialysis unit recording. So you can see that pre-hemodialysis routine, post-hemodialysis routine, pre-hemodialysis standardized, post-hemodialysis standardized, home and ambulatory blood pressure. So this is Q1, Q2, Q3, and Q4. These are the time intervals, and between every one, there is a here especially there is statistically significant difference in that. Now, ambulatory blood pressure, systolic BP, and mortality. First quartile, second quartile, third quartile, and fourth quartile. Months since randomization is shown in the horizontal axis, 0 to 66, and then participants surviving are shown in the vertical axis. Quartile 1, quartile 2, quartile 3, and quartile 4. Log rank test. And it shows as time goes on, there is a separation between the different groups. Participants surviving in the Q1 quartile are more than those who are in the Q4 quartile. So lifestyle modification, if smoking relaxes you, then don't quit it. Being dead is very relaxing. So what about lifestyle modification? This is what we do in our hemodialysis unit. This young man had a transplant done. So body weight, obesity paradox, mainly explained by mal or undernutrition, low salt intake, 1000 to 1500 milligrams sodium per day, and exercise forms a very important part of blood pressure control, even in dialysis patients. And this boy is doing exercise with the pedaling. Now, BCM monitoring is done in our unit regularly to look at the body composition monitoring, to advise the patient regarding increased salt and water in their body, and this will help them to tailor their salt and water intake. So management of hypertension, most important is control of volume status, then limit interdialytic weight gain. A 2.5 kilogram is associated with a significant increase in BP. Achieve dry weight, frequent dialysis, or longer dialysis time. Frequent dialysis means you are doing 3 times a week, but you can make it 5 times a week. And longer dialysis time is increase the dialysis time to 5 or 6 hours. So dry weight reduction in hypertensive hemodialysis patients, a randomized controlled trial is shown here: systolic blood pressure, diastolic blood pressure, and this is control group. This is the ultrafiltration group, and this is diastolic blood pressure in the ultrafiltration group. The time period is 0 to 8 weeks, and here also 0 to 8 weeks. And the blood pressure is shown here. Systolic blood pressure is about 145. Here the diastolic blood pressure is about 83 millimeters of mercury. And I should caution you that the ideal ultrafiltration should not exceed 10 ml per kilogram body weight per hour, because if it exceeds that, there is increased morbidity and mortality in our hemodialysis patients. So antihypertensive drug, 160 to 95 millimeters immediate before the next dialysis session in those with that. All class of antihypertensive drugs can be used in dialysis patients, except diuretics. If they have a good urine output of more than 200 cc, you can use high dose furosemide, could be 100 to 500 milligram. Compelling indications are similar. So ARBs and ACE inhibitors are the preferable first line of antihypertensive drug. Intradialytic hypertension, prevent left ventricular hypertrophy as well. Now, pharmacokinetic properties of ACE inhibitors, they are all removed during dialysis, including captopril, enalapril, fosinopril, lisinopril, and ramipril. And so they should be given to the patient after dialysis. Contrarily, the ARBs are not removed by dialysis, including candesartan, irbesartan, losartan, telmisartan, valsartan. So they have terminal half-life varying between 11 to 15 hours. Initial dose in hemodialysis and maintenance dose is in hemodialysis patient, and they are not removed by dialysis. Now, pharmacology properties of beta blockers in chronic dialysis patients. Acebutolol is dialysable. Atenolol is removal during dialysis. Carvedilol is not removed. metoprolol removal is high, and propranolol removal is high. So a physiologic approach to use of pharmacogenomics in hypertension, genetic variation contributes to inter-individual difference in antihypertensive agent response. Single nucleotide polymorphism do not have a level of evidence necessary to support routine clinical use. Gene-wide association studies warrant investigation for broad implementation into clinical practice. Genetic variation receptors, RAS and intracellular targets of antihypertensive pathways mediate pharmacodynamic effects of drugs. Now, this is our experience. Sorry about this busy diagram. We have patients who were on hemodialysis between 16 to 25 years, 25 to 35 years, 36 to 45, 46 to 55, 56 to 65, and 65 to 75 years. So this is a cohort of 62 patients. Pre-hemodialysis BP mean value was 150 by 80.4. And the post-hemodialysis value were 157 by 83.8. Intra-dialysis weight gain was 2.51 kilogram, the mean value. Intra-dialysis weight gain of more than 2 kilograms were seen in 50 patients, mostly those belonging to the aged group compared to the younger age group. Intradialytic weight gain of less than 10 kilograms to 2 kilograms in 12 patients. Urine output of less than 100 ml in 26 patients. Urine output of over 100 ml in 36 patients. Frequency of hemodialysis was once a week in 2, twice a week in 35, 3 times a week in 25. And the number of medications they were taking for blood pressure control were 1 to 2 tablets per day in 28 patients, 3 to 5 tablets per day in 26 patients, and number of patients on no tablets were about 7. Nutritional assessment by trained dietitians showed a sodium intake. This is very important in these patients of 1700 milligram to 2200 milligram sodium intake. So summary, sodium excess and extracellular volume expansion is the major factor in the development of hypertension in hemodialysis patients. Lifestyle modification is critical, including exercise and excess weight gain. Control of volume status, dietary salt and fluid restriction is very important because each 9 millimoles of sodium will retain 1 liter of water. Correcting adequately volume expansion with dialysis and all class of antihypertensive drugs can be used in dialysis patients. And thank you for your kind attention.